Welcome to another episode of 5-Minute Licks. On today's video, as you can probably tell by the shape of the guitar that I'm holding, we're going to take a look at some more 80s rock rhythm guitar secrets. I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who watched the last episode that I did on some of my favorite 80s rock rhythm ideas. It warms my heart to know that so many people are into that style of playing and that video helped them get into that style. What I want to focus on today is fast 16th note alternate picking riffs in the style of John Sykes and Jake E. Lee. We're going to use the riff from Whitesnake's Bad Boys to do this. I'll just play you the riff quickly. And what we're going to do is just take that first little section in there, which I will play for you right now. Slow down. Now, I've always struggled with trying to keep that feeling consistent rhythmically, but also feeling relaxed in my body. And it wasn't until I heard the demos that Whitesnake released of that entire album, specifically the demo for Bad Boys, that I thought of a cool approach to practice this. Now, if you've heard those demos, John is playing that riff without the 16th note E string pattern. He's just playing downstrokes as 8th notes on the E string. So it sounds like this instead. So that's the first thing that I want you to practice. We're going to contrast playing that twice and then with the 16th note pattern on there with alternate picking once. So it'll be 2 for 1. And I did a video recently on this entire approach to practicing where basically you play something that you're fairly confident with twice, and then you play either a faster version or a more complex version of it once to compare and contrast while you're practicing. Let's do that. And I'd encourage you to do this if you know the riff already at tempo. And if you're learning the riff, slow it right down so you can get those consistent downstrokes happening. If you think about it, if you can do it in time with the downstrokes, well, you just have to catch the open E string on the way back to the next downstroke to turn it into alternate picking. But playing it with downstrokes will teach you those all-important accents, which will make this feel really tight rhythmically, which is super important. So we get this. Next, we're going to adopt another video lesson that I did where I was talking about using, say, the flipper technique, so a super loose floating wrist, and not worrying if everything sounds sloppy, just to help your body relax and get used to the feeling of playing those fast alternate picking 16th notes. We'll do the alternate pick version of the riff, so as you want to hear it, we're just going to do a little sloppy without all the muting and with this kind of flipper technique. So I'll play it the way I want you to play it, then I'll loosen up my wrist and use that floating right hand flipper. So we've got 2 things to practice now, omitting all the upstrokes in there. So you're just playing a downstroke 8th note droning E string and then doing the riff just sloppy and with this super relaxed right hand. The last thing and the third thing I want you to practice are just the upstrokes on there. So I'd encourage you to put on a metronome or a drum track. And what we're going to start doing is just playing consistent 8th note downstrokes. Then we're going to play only the upstrokes in the gap. This is a lot harder than you would think. Something like that anyway. Putting those 3 things together will let us focus on all the individual elements that we are trying to nail in the riff. We are first getting the all-important downstroke accents on there so that we can really keep it tight and feel how the riff is meant to be accented. Then we are using that floating right hand just so our body can be nice and loose. It's almost like by having a slightly sloppy version of it, we're teaching ourselves what it's like to play it at tempo. And then finally, we are working on a detail there, which is just the tone and consistency of those upstrokes only. I'm going to try and play all three of them back to back with a click track on. Let me know if you've got any questions about this in the comments section below, and I really hope this helps. Just as an example to tighten up your overall rhythm playing, but to shed some light on how players like John Sykes, Jake E. Lee, and Zakk Wylde use this technique just to make absolutely slamming 80s style riffs. You can also support me directly on Patreon, or you can check out some of the music that I make with my band Ragdoll in the video description. Have a great day. Now I'm going to try and practice what I preach and actually show you how I would go about doing these back to back. Let's do it.